So we just finished the downsell offer section, and now we move on to the magic of continuity offers. I've been a continuity guy my whole life, and so this is a section that I hold near and dear to my heart and has made me a tremendous amount of money. It also stabilizes the cash flow of the business. And so in our 4 money models, we have attraction, upsells, downsells, and now, kaboom, continuity. So continuity offers provide ongoing value that customers make ongoing payments for until they cancel. They boost the profit from every customer and give you one last thing to sell. Continuity offers are awesome because you sell once and get paid again and again and again. So here's my quick explanation. Let's say you offer something for $1,000 to 100 people and 10 people buy, you make $10,000. 10 times $1,000. Okay. Now, let's say that you talk to the same 100 people, but you make your $1,000 thing $50 a month instead. And at $50, we can get 40 out of the 100 to buy. And if you keep those people for 20 months, you still make $1,000 from each customer. So you go from making $10,000 now and $0 over time to $2,000 now and $40,000 over time. And as an added bonus, in the first example, if you only sold 10 customers, you'd only have 10 customers to upsell later. If you use a continuity offer and sold 40 customers, you'd have 4 times the customers to upsell later, which is a massive difference. This is fundamentally why people do continuity. You can sell more people at a lower price, you can still collect the same LTV, and you get 4 times the customers to upsell later. The pros are you can attract more customers compared to something more expensive. The cons are, but you make way less money now, which makes it tough to use as an attraction offer on its own, which is why we put it last, or at least why I tend to put it last. So the TLDR is that by making continuity offers last, we get the best of all worlds. We get cash today from attraction offers, upsell offers, and downsell offers, and we get a little cash today and tons of cash tomorrow from continuity offers. Note, to be clear, you can make continuity offers whenever and however you want. There are no rules. All right, they can attract new customers, upsell and downsell current customers, or re-engage old customers. Same as all the others. So the objective here for continuity offers within the money models that I explained is to maximize lifetime value per customer. These have lower absolute gross profit, but higher gross margins oftentimes. There are 3 topics we will cover: downsell the upsell, calculating back of napkin LTV, and big head long tail. So let's rock through it. So downsell the upsell. So this is my 2 cents. I found it works best to downsell your upsell. So get more cash up front, sell shorter duration, and then add value and then sell it for less. All right, so when I explained this, I had my $16,000 16-week thing, $1,000 a week, and then I'd say, hey, let me give you 5 times the value, and then it's less. And people are like, whoa, but I extended the term. So that's how I downsold my upsell. A lot of times people want to increase the price of the upsell. There's nothing wrong with that. This is just an alternative method that I found worked really well. My challenges in the beginning was $600 for 6 weeks. And then back end, we sell $200 per month. So it's less. So one is $100 a week, one's $50 a week. It's half the price. And as a member, you get all these benefits, right? And so I like the downsell, the upsell process, because if they said yes to this thing, they're like, oh, this is an even better deal. And then we convert even more of it. All right. So here's how it sounds. So have you enjoyed everything so far? They say yes. Mind if I tell you about a way to save a little bit and get a lot more? They say yes. You say, so given you've enjoyed X, Y, and Z, we want you here for the long term. So here's what we're going to do. If you're in this with us for the long term, we want to reward you with even more stuff and do it for less. You in? Great. That's the sale. It's very straightforward. So people think about monthly cash flow more than they think about duration. So we had 3-year contracts. So the total contract value was way higher than the 16 weeks, but the monthly payment was significantly lower. And so this is the power of commitments and contracts. It can significantly increase LTV if you deliver value. So that's downsell the upsell. Now let's talk about calculating back of napkin LTV. So the simplest way to do this is look at your price, divide it by your monthly churn, and that gives you your lifetime revenue. Remember, we still have margin on this. We still have some cost of delivery. Now, the gross margin times lifetime revenue equals your lifetime gross profit. So for example, let's say our price minus our cost of goods times 100% equals our gross margins. So let's say we have a $100 price, $20 cost of goods times 100 equals 80% gross margins. Okay. So now we take our 80% gross margins, we multiply it by our lifetime revenue, and we get $800 of lifetime gross profit. That's how much we make per customer over lifetime. That is what you can calculate for yourself, given whatever it is you have. So you divide your price by your churn, that gives you the revenue. Then you basically just figure out what your gross margin is, multiply that by that, and there you go. So getting people into continuity automatically extends LTV. Even with a company that does one-time transactions, most recurring stuff that has basically no added value, I'm just being super real with you, the recurring is usually 3 months, which still 3x your LTV. So if you sell physical products, which maybe you have one-time use, if you just get someone in subscription, it usually triples the value of the customer. So if half the people do that thing, then you've got half the people doing 3x and half them doing 1x, which means you double the revenue of your business. Not bad, just by making it available. So the valuable money lesson is People think more about price than they do about term. They think more about what they have to pay today, not what they're going to have to pay tomorrow. To extend LTGP, just to give you an example here, if you have that $100 per month thing and you have 10% churn, your lifetime revenue would be $1,000. If you go from $100 divided by 3% churn, so you go from 10% to 3%, you have a $3,000 lifetime revenue. Massive. So some people are like, oh, it's only decreasing churn by 7%. Nah, you decreased it by 70% or 300% in terms of what it is. All right. And so churn is how many customers leave monthly from the ones who started the month by percentage. So if you want big LTGP, conquer churn. Make this number, the people who cancel every month, go down. And the amount that you make from that is unbelievable. So that's back of napkin LTV. So now let's talk about big head, long tail. So John taught me this. He said you can shear a sheep. That should say sheep. You can shear a sheep. You can shear a sheep for a lifetime, but you can only skin it once. And so he explained this one thing to me that I have always remembered. He said, I had this membership at my tanning salon that was $100 down, then $10 a month. He said, or you could just pay $19.99 a month. He said people would call him up before their cards would expire to make sure they got to save that $10 a month thing. And so because they felt like they had bought that lower rate, they didn't want to lose it. And so that concept of the big head, long tail came from John. Like if you pay $1,000 and then something's $50 a month afterwards, the likelihood that you want to cancel that's way lower. And so if you say, hey, you can pay $1,000 now and then you can earn this lower rate, or you can pay $200 a month, a lot of people are like, shit, I'll just pay $1,000 and then keep the 50. But the thing is that 50, the churn on that 50 is so low that you even make more over time than the $200 a month. So you have to play with the numbers here, but typically the more offset the upfront versus the continuity, the more valuable it is. And I will do one little side quest here and then we'll get into them. I think the main reason that a lot of education businesses and media businesses do not have good continuity is because the price to value is mismatched. If I teach you arithmetic the day before you learn arithmetic, it's unbelievably valuable. You learn, you will be able to do mathematics in the world. How valuable is that? The day after you learn arithmetic, you getting a course on arithmetic is worth nothing. And so the problem is that a lot of media and education businesses will take that continuity concept that I talked about earlier, like, well, I could sell way more people. But the problem is that the value diminishes precipitously with information, because once you've learned something, you've learned it. You've extracted the value. And so the way that I like to think about this is that either you sell bulk payments up front, so you sell annual memberships, which I'm obviously a big fan of, or you can sell one-time prices for things that deliver one-time value, and then you'd have much lower continuity for things that deliver ongoing value. And so you basically break apart the things that are one-time value versus consumable value. And I'll give you an example. So in GymWatch, we had like a sales system. Once you install the sales system, you have the sales system. Okay, got it. So that would be one-time value. Something that would be recurring value or consumable value, but would be calls with one of our business consultants who's going to make sure that you're tweaking the things in your business and look at the metrics every single month. Having access to the new plays or new releases that were released every single month. That's something that's consumed every single month because it's new. If we had new ads that we were going to test and run to make sure they were winners, then every month you're like, well, I want the new ads. So those are things that are consumable. So it makes sense to price the payment plan or the continuity based on the value of those consumables, not the blended value of the one-time thing and the consumable, because that blended value would be much higher and would have a much higher likelihood of churn. And so this is how I would prefer to fix most education businesses. There's nothing wrong. Like they often have high churn simply because they're mispriced. They kind of try to price in the middle when really you should price way high up front and lower over time. Or alternatively, just charge annual. And then that way you're just basically looking back into the future and saying, hey, if a year from now you can do all these things, would that be valuable? Yes. And then you have a whole year to figure out what the next big thing you're going to have. It basically buys you more time to figure out what the next offer you're going to make them that the first offer you did solved. So if I taught you how to sell, well, then maybe you want to learn how to market. If I taught you how to sell, maybe you want to learn how to onboard. There's going to still be the same offer solution cycle that exists, and you can still include that within the continuity that you have. So real world offer. So let's say you $5,000 down, $200 a month. This also, the big head long tail, helps with client finance acquisition because you have this big upfront payment. You can offset the cost to acquire customers, offset your sales commissions, and then you get the continuity. And the nice thing here is the cancellation rate is very, very low because of sunk cost fallacy. People don't want to lose money they put down. So it's very unlikely someone's $5,000 down and then cancels month two. Enterprise value is based on a discount applied to future cash flows, which really comes down to how much money and how likely is it to occur. And so for you to have a very big business, you want lots of money that's going to happen in the future, that's very likely. That gives you a big multiple on the value of your business. If you have very little money and it's very unlikely to occur, then it's a small multiple or none at all. So this features into how likely will we retain customers, retain revenue, and have that increase over time. This is where continuity becomes more valuable. This is not in the book, so this is me giving you bonus stuff. There's a difference between recurring and reoccurring revenue. So Netflix is recurring. Think memberships. Coca-Cola is reoccurring. I am a Coca-Cola product buyer. I buy lots of their drinks, and I do that on a regular basis, but I don't have a fixed membership, but I reoccur. Both are great. The key with this one is that you just need to demonstrate that, hey, for example, there's a sauce company that I like, and I've bought their sauce for like 4 straight years, and I use it every single month. I go through 3 or 4 bottles a month, and I've been using for years. And sure as hell, you can bet that they can calculate that the average person who buys a bottle over time buys another 20 bottles. That makes it a very valuable business. Company 1, let's say that's got a top line of $10 million, EBITDA 3. Company 2 is $10 million and $3 million in EBITDA. Okay, this one's all transactional. You might get a 4x multiple. This is all recurring, and based on how much you retain it, it might be worth 8 to 15 times. So it's 24 to 45 million. So between 12 and 24 to 45, that's a hell of a lot more money. So this is problems worth solving. And so if they stay, buyers will pay. And when I say buyers, I mean investors. So my personal note is that you sleep great, this is me telling you personally, when you know on the first of the month that all your bills are paid and your profit is already locked in and everything else you have is gravy. And so recurring/continuity equals stability, which is why it's the 4th pillar of this. It's also the thing that will usually make your company the most valuable. So have I sold you, hopefully, on adding some recurring element to your business? Great. So let's get to the 3 best combinations that I've seen and used. Continuity bonus offers, continuity discount offers, and then the waived fee offer. All right. So let's rock and roll. And now we do bonus offer.